In this video, I'm going to tell you about my experience of flying my service dog for the first time, not only on an airline, but on Southwest Airlines. So first, let me introduce you to Topa. The brown and white one is Sahara, our pet bully, and the gray and white one, as you see here, is Topa on day one when we brought her home. And she didn't like the snow, so the first thing she did was get underneath her big sister to be protected. As the weeks and months passed and Topa began to grow, we noticed that she was returning some of the compassion that she received from Sahara when she was a puppy back to Sahara after Sahara was diagnosed with cancer. They were then and they are today completely inseparable. We noticed that about a year old, she became increasingly dependent on being with me, and we didn't know why. Not long after that, I was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. No matter what I did, no matter where I went, all I had to do was look around, and there was Topa. She'd either be sitting staring at me or laying next to me in bed. As my condition worsened, her attachment to me just grew and grew until today we are completely inseparable no matter where we go. Over the next year, Topa was trained in obedience training and also being trained as a service dog. Then it was time for our first cross-country trip together. After looking at all my options and reviewing all the airlines and how they handled passengers with service dogs, I chose Southwest. So Southwest Airlines require a U.S. Department of Transportation service dog air transportation form. Boy, what a mouthful. Anyways, it's pretty easy to fill out. Just fill out all the information, give a little bit of health information, and you're going to show this to the person at the front counter, the same person that you would give your bags to. She's going to probably put some note in your flight information so that the person at the gate will know that you have a service dog, and your ticket will then be marked with pre-boarding. And this was the only point where I had any issues. One of the other employees who was working the counter came up to me and was concerned about the muzzle I had on my service dog. I had to explain to him that it wasn't a muzzle, it was a gentle lead. After several minutes of explaining it to him, she finally understood what it was used for. So after we checked our bags, it was time to head over through TSA, which was no problem at all. They treated me and Topa with complete professionalism and care. Unfortunately, I didn't get very many pictures of Topa. I had both my hands full, one with my bag and one with Topa, so filming was quite difficult. Upon checking in at the gate and getting in during preload, I immediately went right to my seat, and there was always a seat up front open for me. And that is probably what I was most concerned about, was whether there would be enough room in front of the seats for Topa to lay down, and there was. I was right up against the front bulkhead, and Topa weighs about 77 pounds, and she's a pretty big dog. She's an American Staffordshire. So there was enough room. I knew that if I got one or two rows back, there would just not be enough room for me and Topa both. So from my experience, my first time experience of taking my dog from Detroit, Michigan down to Tampa, Florida, and then from Tampa, Florida back up to Detroit, was excellent. I had absolutely no complaints about those who helped me get on the plane and get off the plane. So in conclusion, as long as your dog is properly trained as a service dog, as long as you have the proper paperwork filled out before you go, as long as your dog has had the shots and you can prove them, and you prove them by putting them on the TSA form or the Department of Transportation form. I also brought a copy of her vaccination shots with me. I had absolutely no problem going from the ticket counter through the TSA checkpoint and then up to the gate where the plane was leaving, and then on to the airplane. It was completely effortless. Now, while there was a problem with one of the flight attendants on the flight, it was not towards me. It was basically towards everybody on the plane. He just threatened to keep calling the cops on everybody if you didn't wear your mask, and I thought he was rather rude, and I did complain about that. But as far as the dog was concerned, absolutely no issues. So I apologize for not having any more video or pictures of my dog as I got on or off the plane, but it was kind of difficult. I had my hands full. I had holding her in one hand, and I had her luggage in the other hand. So it was difficult to hold my cell phone. All right, well, I hope this has helped some people if they've been thinking about taking their dog on a plane as a service dog. First of all, your dog must be a service dog if you're taking it on as a service dog. And even if your dog is a service dog, make sure he's well behaved. Have your Department of Transportation paperwork done and printed up before you get to the ticket counter. And get to the airport at least an hour and a half early. With everything you're going to have to do with the dog, you're going to need the time. So I hope that helps you a little bit on getting on or off, at least Southwest, and knowing that taking your dog on as long as he's well behaved and in fact is a trained service dog is not as scary as it seems. Just remember, if you're flying with a large dog, try to get that number one seat up front, the number one row, so that he has lots of space to lay down and move about if he needs to. Other than that, have a great flight.